What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at X-Men Dark Phoenix, the 12th installment into Fox's X-Men film franchise. The story of Dark Phoenix is as follows. The X-Men go into a trip in outer space to save some astronauts. They get blasted by a cosmic force. This cosmic force latches itself onto Jean Grey and starts to enhance her abilities. All the while, this cosmic force is being hunted down by an ancient alien race known as the Dabari Empire, who come down to Earth to pretty much claim the Phoenix Force for themselves. So yeah, that's the overall story of X-Men Dark Phoenix. Let's just breeze right through this review, try and our best to make it as short and sweet as possible. At the end of the day, I just don't like X-Men Dark Phoenix. I've now seen this movie twice, and my thoughts on it still stand. It's a very dull, just boring experience of a movie to sit through. You know, I don't mind an X-Men movie having a very somber and sinister tone to it, but if you do it like Dark Phoenix, it just has no sense of fun. Everything just feels so flat. That's the thing about this movie, is that it feels flat. And Dark Phoenix is supposed to be like this big thing, this big event. Like, this is the Phoenix. This is like a destroyer of worlds in a way, kind of similar to Thanos, that could wipe out planets and civilizations. And just like The Last Stand before it, it takes the route of keeping everything just completely grounded and just completely just dull and boring. However, unlike this movie, The Last Stand actually has some fun moments to it. This movie, not so much. The third act fight on a train is the best action sequence in this entire movie, and that is a shame to say. So yeah, with all that being said, let's just talk about it. Overall, the returning cast members from the First Class movie return for this, and their performances in this movie, they're just dull. You know, and the words dull should not be rhyming with the names, should not be going with with actors like James Mcavoy, Nicholas Holt, and Michael Fassbender. No, these three guys are absolutely fantastic in the First Class in the First Class timeline. But in this movie, they just seem like this movie shows the fourth movie fatigue with these guys. Like, they're playing these characters for a fourth time, and you can tell that they just don't have nothing new to bring to these characters, and they're just like sleepwalking through it. Almost as if the script is not giving them anything to work with, which is really what it is. This movie script is giving none of these guys anything to work with, and it shows in the performance. James McAvoy is Professor X. Professor X in this movie is written how he was in The Last Stand, morally ambiguous when it comes to suppressing Jean's powers. He comes across as a complete douchebag who no one trusts anymore. And James McAvoy's performance, instead of being the caring mentor that he's been in the last three movies, he just comes across as very cold and disheartening in a lot of scenes, which is really, really hard, which is what I can't stand. I hate it. Nicholas Holt, his portrayal just, it's like there. It's like really flat. Like, it doesn't it's almost as if Nicholas Holt wants to do something with the role, wants to do something with the direction of his character, but he's just not giving good direction but he's not being handed any good direction, if that makes any sense. So to me, his performance comes across as just there. Michael Fassbender, he don't come into the movie till at least about, I don't know, if it felt like an eternity until he finally gets into the movie. And he's fine. You know, Michael Fassbender this time around, you can clearly tell that he's starting to show fatigue playing this character. Now that he's 4 movies in, he really does not have anything new to give to the character of Magneto. I mean, it's cool seeing Genosha. It's cool that he has the safe haven for mutants. It's something that Magneto would do. And I do like the whole thing of him being enraged by the death of Mystique. But like I said, the movie doesn't really do anything fun with it. I mean, if this movie was clever, like if this movie was really clever and really wanted to do something very interesting, you already have Professor X being written like a complete douchebag. Why don't you do a flip? You know, have Professor X be a douchebag for suppressing Jean's memories, and have Magneto, in a reversal, act like Professor X towards Jean Grey when she goes for him for shelter and for comforting. I think that could have been very interesting to play on. It could have been a nice dynamic flip. You know, Professor X in this movie, he's already having an ego because he's in good with the president. You know, the X-Men are like national heroes, so to speak. So his ego is all over the place. You know, have Magneto now be a mentor. Have him act more like Professor X. I think that would have been a nice role reversal if this movie had any cleverness to it, but it doesn't really go that route. Like Magneto just acts like Magneto, and we get nothing really clever along with it. In terms of the other actors who debuted in Apocalypse, you know, Ty Sheridan, Alexandra Shipp, and Cody Smith McPhee. You know, they're fine in the roles. I like Ty Sheridan as Cyclops. This movie expands a little bit on his relationship with Jean Grey, though it's not even remotely as interesting as it should be. Cody Smith McPhee's Nightcrawler, he has some fun moments here and there, nothing really to complain about. Alexandra Shipp as Storm doesn't really do anything till like the big third act, to be honest with you. She doesn't do anything. But the movie hints at her leadership skills that Storm eventually does require in X-Men lore. So, I guess that was okay. Jessica Chastain as the villain Vok, whatever her name is. She's boring as bricks. Jessica Chastain has the blankest stare in this movie, and I don't know if that's just boredom or that's the direction she's being given. The villain of this movie has zero charisma, has zero menace, and is just a flat-out bore to the point where I forget what her name is. That's a shame. Jessica Chastain's a very talented actress, and she's giving a nothing, thankless villain role with no personality and no charisma whatsoever. She's as forgettable can come, and that's a shame. As I will continue to reiterate, it's a shame. Sophie Turner, who plays Jean Grey, I wasn't a huge fan of hers in Apocalypse. I thought her acting was kind of flat. In this one, I actually think she kind of improved. I ain't going to lie. Upon a second rewatch, I actually thought Sophie Turner put in a good performance. She did a really good job at showing the dread that Jean is going through and the confusion and the fear that her powers are giving her now that they've been enhanced by this cosmic force. I do like a lot of the scenes with her. I do like some of the scenes with her. Like I said, I think the chemistry with her and Ty Sheridan has actually improved in this movie. I wish that it would have done more with Cyclops and Jean as a romance, but I give the movie credit for attempting to make me believe that these two are deeply in love with one another. I give the movie some credit. I do like the scene where she goes to visit Magneto. I don't like the fact that they don't do anything remotely clever with that. The scene where she interacts with Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique before she kills her. That's an okay scene. It's directly ripped off from the last. That entire sequence, when Jean goes to visit her father, that entire scene is almost verbatim taken from The Last Stand. It's actually creepy that they remade that scene, and it's actually done pretty lame here as opposed to how it was over there. That's just my thoughts. On that. Oh, and the killing of Mystique. Thank God. Thank God Mystique died because in this movie Jennifer Lawrence was giving the most just I don't give a fuck performance you can ever see in an actor. She could care less about the X-Men film franchise. She could care less about coming back to do Mystique. So killing her off is actually a good thing. Goodbye, Jennifer Lawrence. Thank you for 2 good performances, but after what you did in Apocalypse and this, I don't ever want to see you in a superhero movie ever again. These films are clearly not for you, and that's okay. These movies are not for everyone. But come on, be professional and don't phone it in. She phoned it in. And the scene where Mystique was supposed to die is supposed to have this big resonance, but because Jennifer Lawrence's acting is so flat, it kind of goes over like a fart in church. Again, which is a shame because we had 3 movies to establish Mystique, but we didn't really have enough time to establish what relationship that Jean could have had with Mystique. So yeah, her death comes across as flat. However, I do like the reaction from Hank when he sees this. You can tell that he's completely crushed by it, and that goes all the way back to First Class and the budding romance between Hank and Mystique. And I also like how it affects Magneto and Charles because they had a close connection with her. You see, those moments I think are handled fairly decently, not fantastic, but decently. The action sequences in this movie are very forgettable. Like, they're really, really forgettable. Hell, Quicksilver's in this. Evan Peters returns as Quicksilver, and he doesn't have an iconic scene in this. Actually, he's taken out about a half hour into the movie, and we don't see him again. What a waste for Quicksilver. What a waste of Evan Peters' time. Comes in, does like 20 to 30 minutes, comes in for 20 to 30 minutes, and then we don't see him again. Doesn't come back for the third act. Doesn't do nothing in the third act. He's like disappears. What a waste. And like I said, the action sequences are just forgettable. The only two decent action sequences are where the X-Men go to Manhattan to try and get Jean Grey from a penthouse that she's being held in, and the train sequence, and the big train sequence with the X-Men and the Dabari. Those are the only two decent action sequences in this entire movie. Everything else is kind of forgettable, and the whole thing, and Jean going into outer space with Valk and apparently dying, that was okay too. So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about X-Men Dark Phoenix. This is not a good X-Men movie. This is a whimper of a movie, and the fact that this is the note that the X-Men franchise is going to go on is a crying shame. 19 years of history culminates in a disappointing resolution for these characters, and hopefully the MCU can do something with them with the eventual reboot. I'm hoping. Me personally, I would have loved to have seen the new cast come back and actually get material to work with and be more closer to the comic book counterparts. But I don't know if we're gonna get that. Probably not, because they're gonna want to do a clean slate. They don't want no relics from the 20th Century Fox X-Men days. And given this movie, who can blame them? So yeah, I don't have that really much to say about X-Men Dark Phoenix. As a movie, it's okay. As a conclusion to the X-Men film franchise, it's a disappointing mess. This movie is basically a remake of The Last Stand, but only it takes from the worst parts of Last Stand and doesn't have the fun nor the charm of The Last Stand, which is why I'm going to give Dark Phoenix a solid 4 out of 10. It's not offensively bad. It does have some decent moments to it. I really like the Hans Zimmer score of this movie. That really does give it... The movie tries to go for a somber and sinister tone, and I truly think that Hans Zimmer's score is what barely makes that movie get to that plateau. And there are certain sequences that also get to that plateau, but it doesn't fully embrace it, is what I'm getting at. Like, this movie wanted to be like Logan, but it didn't have the balls to cross into that path. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for X-Men Dark Phoenix. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.